Hey, on this episode, we're talking about why is your heat pump steaming, what is the E switch on your thermostat, and how do I know if my emergency heat is really on? You ask your comfort and energy questions, and they get answered. This is the Ask Derek Cole Show.
Why two spiders banana?
All right, ready?
Heat in there could be so much fun. Oh, it's recording. Did you want me to stop? And 2, 1.
Hey, this is Derek Cole. Welcome to episode 52, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 52 of the Ask Derek Cole Show, answering your home and energy questions. It's been a beautiful week, which is okay for business. It's not great, but I'm ready for the snow. I'm kind of, I'm tired of shorts. I'm ready for the long sleeves and the pants, and then in a few months I'll be like, all right, I'm ready for shorts and short sleeves. But anyway, let's get into some heating questions.
How do I know if my electric heat is on when I'm using my heat pump?
One way to know that it's actually on is by going to your thermostat. It should indicate emergency heat with a red light, or auxiliary heat should be on the digital version. If you have an old school thermostat, you see the auxiliary or emergency heat light on. There's one way to find out. Another thing to do, which I would recommend, is to get the unit maintenance before it really starts the heating season. That way, because some people can get surprised that their heat or their AC is running with the strip heat and there's some kind of malfunction. It's working correctly, you're comfortable, but the power bill comes in, it's $400, $500, $600. You're like, what in the world's going on? So I would get a maintenance done before the heating season, just like before the cooling season. Get it checked out to make sure everything's working properly and make sure everything's good to go, because you don't want to, in the month get that large bill where it's been kind of mild, but the heat strips have been operating with the cooling or the heating and you didn't know about it and you're stuck with a $500 bill. So that's one thing I would recommend. I would also, when your system is running, just kind of go back to the thermostat, look at it, make sure auxiliary or emergency heat is not on. One thing I do at my house myself is when it starts getting really cold outside, I do have a set point of like 68 or whatever. So maybe in the morning when I get up, the emergency heat might be on, so I kind of bump it down and turn it off because I'm fixed to take a shower and I'm fixed to get hot and it's fixing, I don't need it at that point. That's just something I do. I'm kind of paranoid about keeping that emergency heat off whenever is possible. Now, if it's 20 degrees outside and I want to be comfortable, it's going to run. So that is a tip I will give you.
What does the EMHT switch do?
That's the emergency heat, what we just talked about. In the heating season, it is a little different than the cooling season, is that when you have a split heat pump, you can actually still get heat, even though maybe your compressor is out or you have a refrigerant problem in the heat pump. The emergency heat or auxiliary heat will still work. So that switch is to switch it over if you want to do that. Whereas in the cooling season, you pretty much have to fix the problem to get cooling. Now, another warning is that it costs a lot of money to run strip emergency auxiliary heat. That is going to make your electric bill skyrocket. So yes, it will heat if you have something that's failed in the unit, but it's much more efficient or cheaper for you to get a problem fixed than to go all heating season running the strip heat. So do not think that is the answer.
Okay.
On real cold days, my heat pump sometimes has steam coming out of it. Why is that?
We get this question quite a bit, especially when it gets really cold. My unit's on fire, my unit's steaming, what's going on? So call somebody, and when you have a split heat pump, actually it goes through a what's called a defrost cycle, where it pulls as much heat as it can from outside before, and the strip heaters come on to supplement that. So when it goes into a defrost cycle, those coils on the outside get really cold and get a little frosty. They shouldn't get like blocks of ice on them, then you have a problem. But it should be a frost where you can kind of go out there and if you want to kind of write it in it, and it should be a light frost. So when it goes into a defrost cycle, it is burning all of that off of the unit. It's actually, technically, it's reversing back into AC mode. So now it's pushing the hot air back out of it, therefore burning it off, in other words, or melting it. So when that happens and it's 30 degrees outside, you'll see steam and things like that rising up. It's actually going to turn on your strip heat so you don't get cold inside. It reverses the AC mode, burns it off, turns the strip heat on, and then goes back into heating mode. So that's going to happen every 30, 60, 90 minutes, depending on where your seating is. And also depends on where that sensor is to switch it off. You can either have a timer or a sensor. The sensor is going to read that, okay, I need to go on a defrost cycle, and then it's going to flip it over. The timer is, every 60 minutes, I want it to defrost while I'm in heating, just to make sure. So the steam is merely getting that frost off of the coil so you can keep heating and not using your emergency heat as much. So it's fine, your unit's not on fire. It is burning off the frost. Burning is probably kind of a strong word. It's melting off the frost, and therefore you're seeing the steam because of the temperatures and because it is warmer. So nothing to be alarmed about, completely normal. Now if you go out there and there's a block of ice on your unit, you have a problem. You need to call somebody and get checked out. You could have a problem with the board not signaling it that needs to go into defrost, and therefore just frost keeps building up until it gets to ice. Or it could be a problem with the reversing valve. There could be a number of things could be wrong at that point. It could just be a sensor. It could just be a timer. It could be something very simple. It could be something very major. But when you see that, you need to place a service call, because the frost is just going to keep building up until it's a block of ice and then it can't breathe, and then the strip heat is going to run. Therefore, you might not know that there's a problem if you didn't check it out or pay attention, and then all of a sudden, you got another high electric bill because of the emergency heat. So completely normal steam. It means it's working good, so that's good. And it's nothing to be alarmed about, so you're good to go. And remember too, the first time that strip heat comes on, if you hadn't had maintenance and there is dust buildup, so the first time that strip heat comes on, you kind of smell that dust burning smell, and then you look outside and you see the steam on the unit and you're like, oh my goodness. Okay, what's happening is that's the first time you used your heat strips, so it's burning off the dust from the summertime, and then the unit is in defrost, so it's steaming. So it's kind of a bad combination. That's what we get quite a few phone calls of my unit's on fire, because you smell that and then you see it and then you're like, oh. So just a warning, that could be happening to you as well. So just kind of pay attention, watch it. You should be okay, and do maintenance. I mean, have a qualified technician come out, check everything out completely before you get in this situation where you have an issue. Because most of the things we saw in the summer, most of the things we see in the winter are maintenance related fixes. If it's filter, if it's a dirty unit, if it's just a board not reading the right amps, and we can fix that before it becomes a major issue where you're without heat when it's 30 degrees out versus 75. So that is my advice.
Perfect.
That was a long answer, wasn't it? That's why you get that phone call, because people smell and then they see and they're like, something's on fire.
That's Derek Croshaw rules. Woo!
All right, what you got?
Okay. You want one more?
No, it should be
Okay.
it should be long enough. No, what you got?
Okay.
Personal question of the day. Here it comes. I don't even know what it is.
If you could have any superpower, any at all, what would it be?
Well, when I was younger, I would probably say X-ray vision, just because of being a young teenager. But I'm gonna go with flying. If I could fly, if I could take flight and go somewhere, that'd be awesome.
How about you, Will?
Now, I probably wouldn't look good in the tights or anything, but
You can fly without tights.
Mine would be invisibility.
that goes back to being a teenager.
No. I would use it in the office too.
I was just getting ready to say something, but then I
I could
was
see
like,
them
I don't
coming
wanna
on
be
camera
on
to the office, and I'd go invisible.
Yeah.
That
Not in the office.
That would be kind of cool, because then, everybody's always wondering when you walk away from a conversation, what's being said after you walk away, so then you can come back and be like, listen. I don't know, though. I'm sticking with flying. I really want to fly. Yeah. I really don't. I like driving, but at the same time, I don't like the time it takes to get to where I'm going. I'm very impatient, so if I have to go to Pinehurst, I'd rather suit up and take off than, drive on 501. That's just me. But if you asked me that question when I was like 16, I'll probably say X-ray vision, invisible, but that was for different reasons. Not what you said. All right, so that is, I'm leaving you this personal question. I'm trying to be honest.
Good, yeah.
All right, episode 52 in the books. Remember, hashtag your questions, ask Derek Cole, home, energy, heating, air conditioning, and we'll get them on the show.